set? All right, back with Facebook, the social media leader. Kobe Manzo, we got Noah, Dan, Tate, Riley, and Claire. History of Facebook will give you a quick recap of some of our earlier points, but I'm not going to bore you with a lot of the information. You can see that Facebook is obviously and has been a social media giant for a very long time. 2.9 billion active users. For companies beat their earnings every period. They're constantly growing. They've shown no signs of slowing down, even in the face of competition. And you see right there, the valuation of $1 trillion speaks for itself. We go into competitive forces of our environmental analysis, and Instagram is the one that comes to mind. They took over Instagram, deleted that threat, and then you talk about Twitter. They're a much different platform than Facebook is. Facebook has acknowledged that in the past. Facebook groups is something that Twitter really can't replicate. I talked about in the first presentation the addition of Twitter Spaces, I believe it's called, and almost none of you knew what that was. So now, I don't know if you saw, Twitter actually added an update, and Spaces is the first icon in that bottom banner. Did anybody notice that? Anyone been on Twitter lately? Exactly, it's still terrible. So, but they did. If you go on Twitter now and pull it up and check it out, it's right where Instagram Reels is on Instagram now. So they're trying to force it into your timeline, into your feed, into your social media experience, and yet still nobody is using it. TikTok is the last one of the three, and obviously the addition of Reels has not taken away TikTok. TikTok is still huge, but that is their way of combating that. Going into the socio-cultural forces, COVID-19, which is very normal for us now, threw a big wrench into their plans back in 2020. And the changes due to COVID, they had to change a lot of their things, obviously probably let off a lot of employees. But now coming out of COVID, a lot of changes will be happening to get them back to normal. Technologically, they've had multiple scams. You can see right there, over 1.5 billion Facebook users' personal data found for sale on Hacker Forum. That is something that cannot happen to a company of this size or any company if you're trying to retain loyal customers, because the trust level is just not there. So they have reportedly solved these previous issues, but this is something that they do need to continue to improve upon if, like I said, they want to keep those customers coming back and not have, especially people in the older generation, our grandparents are very weary of that stuff because their Facebook accounts are hacked almost every month, it seems like. And finally, you have the environmental analysis. Facebook is trying increasingly so to target themselves more towards the small businesses, which are now opening back up because of COVID mandates relaxing in certain areas of our country. And this means more spending, more using of the built-in tools within Facebook's app and website, and more importantly, more advertising, because as we'll see, that is where the largest portion of their income and profit comes from, are those advertising pages when you're scrolling, and you get those nice targeted advertisements. If you were around your parents and they were talking about that pesky tree in the front yard, here is 4 tree removal companies in a 5-mile radius on your Facebook feed. On the marketing mix, company popularity speaks for itself. Everybody has Facebook, at least, and maybe not us, but a lot of us really probably just feel inclined to have it just to keep in touch with family and friends of the older generation. So it is still lingering around, even if we don't acknowledge that. The communication tools are there, like I said, keeping in touch with family members and friends far away. And they set themselves apart from competitors in a variety of ways. And we'll get into that with the 4 Ps. The products here, they spread themselves out across a lot of different utilities that you use on your smartphone every day. The obvious one is Facebook, then you go down to Instagram, which they bought back in 2012, 2013. Then you go to Facebook Messenger, which is a much more personalized way of messaging people. As you know, WhatsApp and Oculus VR, one of the more recent ones, Facebook does have a trend of picking up on these fast-growing companies. They acknowledge that something is growing very quickly, and it almost seems as if this might be a threat to us, let's take it out, nip it at the bud, and now it's ours. So they just absorb it because they are the media giant and they can do not whatever they want, but almost whatever they want. Attraction for users, like I said, you almost feel inclined to have Facebook because everybody has it, and if you don't, you might miss something. It's a pretty prominent news source for a lot of people. Should it be? Probably not, but it is. And the social nature of it keeps it around and keeps it in families because you got to keep up on Facebook and see your timeline when it's your birthday. Everyone gives you birthday wishes. Marketing mix. Again, we have the place. So Facebook is spread out well. We have mobile apps, websites, retail stores. They give themselves through all phases of vertical and horizontal production there. And why? Because it's a digital technology. So you can never promote something too much, especially something as widespread as Facebook. So getting it out to as many eyes, ears, and other things is most important above all else. The global access is very important. Facebook is obviously available across the world like most other apps, unless you're TikTok. And promotion and marketing. The viral marketing plays a huge role in this because just like we see a TikTok and our immediate response is to send it to 3 friends, our parents and grandparents see a Facebook post and their immediate reaction is to send it to their grandkids over Facebook Messenger, excuse me. But direct marketing is also very important, and they do value their user experience very much. Finally, the price, the market-oriented pricing, which is determined by number of clicks. This also goes for the advertisements. If you have ever, I don't know how many of you are small business owners in here, probably not many, but when you go to create an ad on Facebook, you choose the duration of how long you'd like your ad to be on Facebook and like a certain area, radius, and other types of things. And depending on how far of a reach you'd like your advertisement to hit, it's going to be more money, obviously. So they make more money off of the amount of clicks and how many people are interacting with those advertisements. There are also flexible pricing options for different companies and different needs. Facebook makes the world more connected with 3 billion engaged users with a customized experience, and they earn a profit through ad revenue, like I talked about earlier. That is their main source of profit. Marketing strategy-wise, they have an undifferentiated marketing strategy. They're not specifically targeting one sector of any particular market. They do have areas that they do perform better in, considering older generations and other things, but overall, they're not targeting those advertising goals and other things towards any specific market sector. Geographic, behavioral, and they use many supplementary apps like we talked about earlier, the Messenger, the WhatsApp, all those other things. Ethics-wise, this goes back to the technological problems that Facebook's faced with the legal cases and personal privacy and consumer data that was stolen from many, many people. Now I think they're beginning to recover from a lot of those things. Like I said, they have not fully recovered, but that is something that they're going to continue to improve on. And the environmental footprint, whether they're just being pressured into it or not, we don't know, but a lot of companies are seeing this change to go green, and Facebook is one of them as well. So they are continuing to make progress in that regard. SWOT analysis. Our strengths are obviously our user loyalty and advertiser loyalty, because Facebook is a way that small businesses can interact with a lot of people in their local area. And like I said, they have very good targeted advertisements. So the people who have been on Facebook for a long time are not all of a sudden just going to drop Facebook and go to some other app or some other website, because that's what they know and that's what they've been on forever. Weakness-wise, the privacy concerns, like I've talked about, getting people who at one point lost their information to Facebook to come back is definitely a difficult one. And when you put all of your eggs in one basket, this being all of the profits from ad revenue, you put yourself sometimes in a situation where you can be vulnerable. Say, when COVID hit and a lot of these small businesses did not have the money to continue to advertise on social media platforms like Facebook, that's when they took a very dramatic hit, because this is where all of their, I won't say all, but a large percentage of their ad revenue contributed to their overall profit. Opportunity-wise, we have platform expansion, portfolio diversification, and a lot of other things. You can read them all right there. And threats would be the competition thing that I touched on earlier, but Facebook has done a very good job of continuing to eliminate those. I talked about the comparison between Twitter and Facebook earlier. Twitter has a lot more frequent posting. It's a lot more quick news based. You get little snippets of tweets. You might get game updates. If any of you follow a lot of sports teams on Twitter, they'll give you a lot of game updates on there. But this is something that Facebook has avoided, is the character limits. And Twitter has made some changes to this compared to when it initially came out, but that's something that does limit users on their application. So now, finally to ours, we got Facebook Office. This is Facebook's way of orientating themselves more to small business and helping businesses come out of COVID.
I'll keep this short and sweet here. So this is marketing objectives specifically for the new implementation marketing office, or Facebook Office. And the first goal of this is to increase new customers. So Facebook has always been a small business oriented thing where you could advertise yourself very easily and get your name out there. But this would be a way for Facebook to inject themselves into the day-to-day operations of a business. So this would help them reach a whole new entrepreneurial aspect of like social media and networking too. And then also to go global. to expand beyond the domestic market, because Facebook is obviously a social media giant, and if they're able to control business in the places outside of America, it would help them secure their grip on business throughout the world. And also to secure sales. So Facebook, you see a lot of their advertisements, you see some of their services, but with this, it would help them get together all the aspects that they need and make sure that people actually make the purchase, make the decision to go with their services.
So another marketing objective would be successfully launch this app. In order to do that, they need to promote the app before it is even launched. And I would suggest they do this by marketing the main points of the app to business executives and small business owners. And to successfully do that, they need to find the right pricing that makes them profit while also getting new users to buy it. The second objective is to increase sales. They're a company that obviously needs to make money, so this new app would help them offer a new product in a new market other than just regular Facebook. This is more business oriented. And so if they minimize their launch costs and minimize the risk, they can make huge profits on it.
So the target market for this is small to medium businesses. So it's hard to really understand without going into depth what this is for, but it would just help day-to-day operations within the business. And so small to medium businesses are the main people who would benefit from this, because most corporations have their own day-to-day services. And also to help the target market to create like local business atmosphere. So since it is targeted towards the smaller companies, if you can get Facebook involved with their marketing aspects and their day-to-day operations, it just is another aspect. And it's also for small businesses looking for a convenient payroll service. A lot of those services are very expensive with high entry fees, and this would be an alternative to that.
So more about our product. We haven't given you much of a complete description yet, but Facebook Office is bridging the gap from online to brick and mortar as a lot of these small businesses start to begin that transition back to their previous retailing days. And many small businesses did not experience much growth during COVID, although sure some did persist and are coming back. A lot of that transition is going to be very different because a lot of them canceled certain memberships or fees to a lot of their previous services that had been provided to. So Facebook Office is really trying to become their day-to-day way to communicate, to do business, to track hours, to schedule, and to do not all, but a majority of their operations as a small business. We want this to be centralized, and more importantly, we want them to be using Facebook for this. This is somewhat of a layout as far as what this app would look like. Many of you might be familiar with something like Slack or Discord or certain other forum applications that are based in text and voice channels. That is something that we have definitely taken a lot of inspiration from, but we've taken it and brought it to the next level. But that is kind of a layout. You can see here we have the calendar on the outside, as long as a marketing team text channel right there. And these are some things that are very important into the Facebook Office interface. We look at the pricing now of the marketing mix, and these are going to be in certain tiers. So the first tier is a free tier for small businesses that obviously is going to have the least amount of services and additional features. The two things that you're going to notice here are the amount of users and the online storage space. Those are the two constants that are going to increase with each plan and each tier. And then additionally, I won't read all of them, but you can see all of the different features. So obviously, when you go on to the next tier, this includes all of these features along with everything in the previous tier. So you look at tier 1 to tier 2, you get a pretty decent jump in users and in online storage, along with a bunch of additional features and additional things that you'll be able to use on the application. So this tier 2, we expect to be our most popular tier, which gives you all of the necessity, different materials, especially with the Microsoft Office integration. Tier 3, you're gonna get a little bit larger there with 25 users, and appointment scheduling, payroll, like Daniel mentioned. And finally, tier 4 would be our largest tier, which is unlimited users and 2 terabytes of online storage, enterprise grade security, and that is going to be for the larger side of the businesses. Again, this isn't for large corporations in general.
So, moving on to Place, we chose for our app to be able to be a downloadable mobile app for anyone with smartphone use, and also be accessed through a Facebook website. So it can be accessed for anyone who pretty much has internet connection and is able to download the app. So for our promotion, we really wanted to gear our app to small businesses, organizations, and nonprofits. And we chose this because with our app, we wanted people who had smaller groups of employment, so we could share with them more screen sharing, have an open calendar, and the possible payroll within the app.
Next is our implementation plan. And beginning with our advertising plan, it will begin with sidebar ads and personal communication with potential customers. And this is just so that we reach our specific target audience. And then moving on to test marketing, we'll offer a free trial to small active businesses on the Facebook platform. And we'll determine this by high interactions and just traffic on each of their Facebook store pages. And then finally, when we get to the commercialization stage, there will be a complete rollout offered to every user and organization. And we'll even include a discount for charities and nonprofit organizations because we see the hard work that they do and we want to offer them some more easy platform to work toward their success.
And in terms of evaluation, as the rollouts, first we have our test group of the smaller amount of users. We're gonna start with biannual evaluation surveys. And so then even as we roll on to a complete rollout, we'll still send out these surveys just to see how our service is helping the efficiency of communication between the members of the businesses and the companies. And so with the surveys, we also wanna look at the number of businesses that are stagnant in their tier levels along with upgrading as they're moving forward. And we don't see businesses who are stagnant at their level as a bad thing, because even though a business can still be thriving without getting necessarily a lot larger, because we are focusing on small businesses. And as we talked about in the previous presentation with Twitter, one thing that Twitter doesn't do that we do is focus on small businesses. So especially in this product, instead of gearing it towards the Facebook users themselves, we're gearing it towards Facebook business to hopefully allow them to use our platform and operate more smoothly, which would bring more users to Facebook to look more towards shopping. I know currently right now I don't necessarily use Facebook to go shopping, but maybe after the businesses grow with our platform, that will change and more users will look to Facebook as looking to it to search their businesses before they shop. And these surveys will also allow us to look at the demographic data to find out who we are actually reaching in terms of businesses, what markets the businesses are using and saturating, so then we can accurately find out which avenues and what businesses we want to target and market towards. That is our product and it's coming soon.